It's a good time to think about it beginning of the year, how to balance one's life. Because we have two aspects of our life. One is that we are material entities. Actually, we're not. But somehow we've become entangled in this body. And body means that you also have relatives. Nothing could be more entangling than that. And also we have concerns about how to stay alive. And at any moment, we can slip off from the lotus leaf of this world and have to take a new situation. So there are a lot of concerns going on for us in the world. Same time, we've accepted the path of spiritual enlightenment by following the great sages like Rupa Goswami, and coming down in that line, Srila Prabhupada has given us a very neat package of spiritual practices to follow so that we can attain ultimate perfection. So how to balance all the things and all the responsibilities we have. So balance means bilanx. That's where the word comes from. So lanx is a scale pan. And then you have two of them, as you see in this picture. And our lives have these two different aspects to balance together. Balance also means to do two things at the same time. Anybody ever do that? Don't text while driving. It's very dangerous. But we normally do so many things at the same time. We're not even aware that we're doing these kinds of things. And our body even is balancing, and it's an amazing point. So balance, an even distribution of weight enabling someone or something to remain upright and steady. So we'd like to remain upright and steady, both mentally and physically, spiritually, throughout our days. So this topic of balance is important. Here's upright and steady for you. That takes a little practice, doesn't it? Can anybody here do that? Got anything I can balance? Luckily not. But you can do that if you practice. You see that in going around Govardhan Hill every morning, we notice young women coming out, and they balance many things on their head as they walk along. In fact, years ago, going around Govardhan Hill, there was a woman, I haven't seen her recently, but she balanced a pot of tulsi on her head, and she played kartals at the same time. And she went faster than anyone. She wouldn't let anybody pass her. I don't let anybody pass me either, so it was a real conundrum, guys. I would pass her, then she would pass me, and she runs, and she plays the kartals, and she has a tulsi on her head. Very devotional. But it takes practice. So you can stand up for 1 minute. And stand on the hard floor, not on the mat. And just feel that you've got 2 feet on the ground, nicely balanced. And feel the fact that it's amazing that you can actually balance, isn't it? Okay, now I want you to just very carefully, don't strain yourself in any way, but lift up 1 foot off the ground and stand on 1 foot. And feel yourself balance. See what it takes to balance. Okay, lift off. Now notice in the leg that's on the ground that there's a little wobbling going on. And notice that you're balancing okay, right? Notice what's making you balance. Okay, you can put your foot down. Try it on the other side, just to be balanced. Is one side harder than the other? A little bit, huh? But still you're doing it. A little bit of wobbling. You'll notice there's a lot of different sinews firing in your leg, just to keep you going, right? There's a lot working in balance. Okay, put your foot down. Take a deep breath. Now go to the other side. Back to the first one. Get up and balanced. Everyone up there? Okay, now close your eyes. Okay, open your eyes. Was it any harder? Okay, you can sit down. So one thing is about balance in your life, is you're better than you think. You're already balancing. Physically you're balancing many different things that are going on in your life. And practically nowadays, because there are so many things to balance, more than in the old days perhaps when things were a little simpler. First take a moment to realize all the things that you're already doing. Don't be too hard on yourself and think, oh, I can't do anything, I'm not very balanced in my life and so forth. Yes, you are. First, the fact that you're able to walk around is a miracle, that you're able to reach up on a shelf and grab something. Appreciate that. Appreciate the fact that you're a miracle. There's a lot going into robotics nowadays. And one of the hardest things is to get the robots to balance properly. They fall over a lot. They use gyroscopes and all kinds of technology. That's already built in. You have that and you're balancing. So one of the aspects we noticed when we closed our eyes, that it's harder to balance. So one of the ways in which we balance all the different aspects of our life is to have vision. Have clear vision about where we're going. And this time of year, it's nice to refocus our vision. What is the purpose in our life? Why are we doing what we're doing? And to do that, it's good to take some time to write your goals. Write your goals, and this is a fun exercise, another homework besides going and watching a sunrise very carefully, is to find some quiet time. Get yourself a legal pad. You know what a legal pad is? Because it's got more space on it. It gives your mind more space to think and write. And get a nice pen that you can write with, like a ballpoint pen. And then find a quiet room by yourself somewhere where no one will bother you. Put up a do not disturb sign on the outside of the door. This is another homework for this year. Please write this down. Get a do not disturb sign. You can make one or you can order them online. It says, please do not disturb. I use them whenever I travel, and always when my godbrothers see them, they say, where did you get that? I need one of those. Everybody needs one of those, a do not disturb sign. Get one for your door, and also get a mental one also, that you can hang out and tell your mind, do not disturb me right now, I'm busy. I'm doing something else. And sit down with your pad, turn off anything that has an on-off switch, so it's power down all the things that have electricity, except for the lights. And then take an hour minimum is the assignment, to sit with that legal pad and start writing out your goals. You can take as many pages as you need. You can also take some time to write down what some of your accomplishments are. That's a good way to start on goal setting, is to think about what you did last year. And it's remarkable, actually, how much you have actually done. You'll surprise yourself. I took some time and I wrote down all the places I traveled, and just doing that, I was thinking back on all the people I had met, all the experiences I had had, and so forth. And it was a very full year. So do that, and then take some time to write down your goals, because goals are potent. Once you have the goal, it gives you some vision about where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, it's like closing your eyes while you're standing, or walking, or standing on one foot, and you'll wobble one way or the other in severe ways. But as soon as you have vision, as soon as you have a clear idea about your goals, then you can move forward. I'll just say a few more things about goals. Here's a quote from the Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada writes in a purport 266, disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal. And when one is certain that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of everyone and everything, then one can, with a steady mind, bring about peace. Disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal. Number 2, the mind needs somewhere to rest. Otherwise, it will fly all over the universe, creating havoc for the embodied soul. The best place to fix the mind is on doing good for others. Quote, it should be so trained that it can be always thinking of doing good for others. That's a purport to 1716. One has to do good for others. This is Majjhima Adhikari lecture on November 12th, 1972. So, people have various goals. One of the goals mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita of Kalidas was he had a goal to honor the remnants of every Vaishnava in Bengal. Did he achieve it? Yes, he did. So why set goals? Your mind needs a target. If you don't have a target in any given day, then you'll wobble all over the place. And you'll go to whatever the next attraction pulls you. And there's a lot to pull you in different ways. What are some of the things that pull you in different ways during the day? Facebook, number one. Number two, on the WhatsApp. Number three, internet. They all seem that glowing screen and the unlimited varieties on there can pull from one to next to next to next. So you have to have a very strong purpose for your day, and what to speak of for your month and for your year. So goals are potent. Hang on to these. Have some vision by making some goals. Now there's an old saying, if you don't prioritize, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. If you don't know where you're going, I've had this experience when I'm in Vrindavan and I make a vow to chant a certain number of rounds, which is more than my usual. Then, if I walk through the crowd of devotees, I'll never get to where I want to go because everyone will stop and say, "Hey, how are you? You still living out in California?" And I'll never reach but because I have a goal, I always take the back route. I put my chadar over my head, I go out the back door, I go down the alley, and I go to my room because I know I have to finish this. I have this goal to do. So on any given day, if you have this goal you're looking at, your life will change different. Otherwise, you'll take any road. Doesn't matter. You want to go the short way, the long way. Doesn't matter to me because I don't have anything to do today. Persistence. If you have a goal, when you know how long you have to do something, you can persist in doing it. So when you have measured goals, for instance, if someone says, do as many push-ups as you can. Anybody here ever do push-ups? Good exercise? Good, Avantika. If you push-ups, as someone says, do as many as you can, you'll look up and go, is that enough? Is that enough? But if someone says, do 20, then you'll think, okay, maybe I can make it to 20. And your mind will be fixed. There's an end to it. So goals, they have a beginning and end. You know there's a finish line, so it will pull you forward, and you can persist. If it's unlimited, if you have to suffer unlimitedly in doing some kind of a chore or task, like if you're fasting and you say, well, how long should I fast? They just say, till you die. Then, you'll think, I don't know, I don't think I can do this. They say 24 hours, just until 7, when was the last break fast? It was 7:15, 7:24. Say, okay, my mind can say, 7:24, I can do that. In fact, on Ekadashi, I always ask Nirkula, when's the break fast tomorrow? Then I go, okay, that's fine. It has a beginning and an end. Okay, some reasons people don't set goals. One, they don't have good reasons to set goals. Number two, they don't know how effective it is. Number three, they don't know how. Number four, they fear that they might fail. Number five, they feel overwhelmed, being too busy and disorganized. This is compared to the person who's sawing the tree with a dull saw, and an expert comes along and says, look, take 5 minutes, I'll help you sharpen that, and you can cut it down in no time. Say, look, I don't have time, I'm too busy, I can't do it. So you have to break that cycle and take time to set your vision properly. So human beings have a built-in goal-setting tendency. It's sometimes compared to a heat-seeking missile. There's missiles that they'll shoot, who's they? I don't know, people. They shoot missiles at other people to blow them up. And the missile itself has a guidance system that seeks after heat. So it'll go after an airplane, for instance, because the jet engine puts out so much heat, and it'll chase after it. Doesn't matter which direction it goes. So once you set a goal, the mind is like one of those heat-seeking missiles. It will take off, and it'll go in whatever way it has to go to reach the goal. So you have to set the goal first. Get your legal pad, think about it. It's actually, next to watching the sunrise, is another exciting prospect in life, that you can just sit down and think of things. You can actually take a whole lifetime and not take time to think about things for an hour. Someone's like, next thing, next thing, next thing. How many years went by? 10. Next thing, next thing. How many went? 20. Did you stop and think about it? No. So stop and think about what you're doing and where you're going. And why are you going there? And do you have to do that? So Prabhupada set goals. He had all kinds of goals. If you look at his early literature about starting a Krishna conscious movement, you'll see he meticulously charted it out, exactly how he would train people, what it would look like. It was all on paper before he had anything. And then he set the goals, the 7 purposes of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And in the little display case in his room in Vrindavan, you'll see he has a little notebook that's exactly this big. And it's open to a page, and you can see 1 through 7. And he's writing down his goals for what to do next, and ideas that he has for that. So get in the habit of setting goals. One of the goals that's very powerful is the 30-day goal. This 30 days is a short enough time that you can endure any kind of austerity, or most kinds of austerities, but it's a sufficient amount of time that you can get something remarkable done in 30 days. If you're going to set a 30-day goal, what would it be? Can you think of anything that you could do in 30 days? That you could endure for 30 days and would get you on going on a different track?
Read certain verses of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Read certain verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, it's very good. I visited a friend recently, and he was saying, these verses are like jewels. And you have to first, some jewels you have to polish. When you take them out of the ground, you have to polish them. And after you have them polished, then you have to dust them off on a regular basis. And so when you're first learning verses, you have to say them every day, go over them very carefully. And if you do for 30 days, a whole chapter of Gita or a set of Bhagavatam verses, they'll start to shine in your life. Any other things that you'd like to do over the next 30 days? If you could do anything you want, if you go in and you look at your pad of paper and you say, I'm going to do this. I've always wanted to do this, and now I'm going to write it down. And when you write it down, it's going from the subtle level to the grosser level on paper. Then you can start taking action on it, and you decide what you want to do for the next 30 days to start a new habit, to reach something. What would you do? Wake up 15 minutes earlier. Is that possible? Could you do that? If you decided on your legal pad to do that, and you made arrangements and you went around and told your family, I need help doing this, could you possibly achieve that? Wake up 15 minutes earlier. The answer is? Yes. Yes! What else would you like to do? Exercise. So how would you start exercising? Pay $500 for a gym? Buy a book on exercise? How about walk around the block? It's a good start. You start where you can see yourself doing something on a regular basis. Yes, exercise is very important. Did Prabhupada exercise? Did he say, don't exercise, it's Maya? Don't ever walk? Prabhupada went out and walked vigorously every day. It's exercise. And even when it was very cold, he would go out and exercise anyway. So, yes, exercise. And you have to set some reasonable goals, because around this time of the year, this is the biggest time of year for the exercise industry. The first of the year. It spikes like this, and by the end of January, it starts going like this. So you can set 30-day goals. You can set one-day goals. How exciting is it to wake up in the morning, start a goal? In fact, Agmangdino used to say, never greet the dawn without a map. Never greet the dawn without a map. That was one of his secrets for success. Never greet the dawn without a map. So the night before, map out what you're going to do the next day. You know what happens? you jump out of bed. You know what you're going to do that day. Your mind is a heat-seeking missile. It will start going towards all these different ideas that you have that you want to accomplish in that deal. You'll feel more energy. You'll want to get everything done. You'll chant more shlokas. You'll go around the block. You'll do whatever you have to do because it's all there on paper. You already mapped it out. Otherwise, you're going to spend 3.5 hours on Facebook and you're going to become morose, overweight, and despondent. So set goals. Take this time. You can do it. This is a good time of year to set some goals. Any time's a good time to set goals, but this is a particularly good time because of the energy in the world. Everyone's resetting. So reset your life with some goals. So goals are potent. And here's the rule for Jim Rohn gave, the most simple way of setting goals. Because there's lots about goal setting, but decide what you want and write it down. So once you commit it to paper, and even better if you can look at it on a regular basis, then you'll be reinvigorated. In fact, if you really want to get into it, you rewrite your goals on a regular basis, because then the impression goes in and it becomes very clear what you're going to do. Some tips for remaining balanced. One is to simplify your life. This is always a good idea to simplify, and it's mentioned in the Shastra that one should be simple. One of the Brahminical qualities is simplification. What are some of the ways that you can simplify your life? Can you look up the definition of simplify? Ways you can simplify your life. Yes? Get rid of some of your belongings? Do you have any extra things in your house right now? Let's ask Malini what we can do with them. What we can do with them, Malini?
You can sell them on eBay.
That's right. You can sell them on eBay. Does it work? Can you actually sell? You can sell anything, right? It's kind of fun. If you need directions, she'll tell you how to sell them on eBay. She works for eBay. Yes?
Maharaj, for one person, from my personal experience, just put them all in the van. There's a wonderful Goodwill truck right there. Just let go. It's
Just
amazing. If you try to sell them, try to get something out of something, you're going to be stuck with it forever. I'm going to give it to somebody. I'm going to do something good with it. Never happens. But yesterday I opened the garage and I said, just take it away. My husband said, fine. So you open it and we put everything in, and the van went and it came back with one slip of paper, and I was like,
just like there's different Vedic darshans and philosophies, there's also different ways to get rid of your stuff. So there's the way, just put it in a van and drive off into the sunset, take it to the Goodwill or where you have to go, or sell it. Any other ways to simplify your life? Yes?
By not trying to do too many things at one time.
By not trying to do too many things at one time. That's a really good idea. It's shown that if you're doing a task and you clear your desk of everything else that's not related, and you only have one thing to look at, that you're much more efficient in doing that. And also, we may have all kinds of things in our life that we don't need to do. Obligations we've signed up for, things we've agreed to do. Why not take them off your list if they're not helping you in your Krishna consciousness, if they're keeping you out of balance in your life? Simplify. You become more effective at what you're doing right now. Any other ways to simplify? Yes. The way you dress, yeah, keep it simple. How many pairs of shoes does one person need, right? Or, how many outfits do you have to have? Get rid of some things and dress simply. Simple dress, shave your head. That's simple. It's just like, what style should I do now? Just shave it off. It's simple. Yeah, there's a lot of ways in which just the way we take care of ourselves, if you can simplify the way you dress, and, fashion, thinking about changing fashions. Prabhupada mentions this in his teachings about changing fashions. You always got to get something new, some other new fashion comes out, now you got to drop what you have and get everything new. People go through a simplification. Yes?
I have a friend who actually showed me how to get rid of the stuff. he said that buy a beautiful basket and put right next to your outdoor, and every day drop one thing in that basket. And every weekend just take that basket out to the Goodwill.
Oh,
so
that's
then you
nice.
have old cell phones and, the extra lotions that you don't need, and just get
Okay.
rid of every day one thing.
Bravo, that's very helpful. Reverse engineering, because how do we get so many things? One day at a time they come in, it's like, okay, what do you do this? They just put it in the closet, and next thing you know, it's overflowing. So go the other way. Be concentrating on get rid of things that you don't need in your life. Yes? Don't visit the mall. Yeah, don't go shopping if you don't have to, because you might pick up something you don't need, and then you have to deal with it. Yes? Use the internet only for a specific time. Yes, if you restrict yourself, I only go on for half an hour to pick up mail or do whatever you can. Yeah, that's very good. That simplifies. Thank you. Very practical. Yes?
Just to add on to that, reduce number of screens.
Reduce the number of screens that you have in your life. Yeah, and if you have applications that lead you places that you don't need to go, just dump the application. And then when your mind goes to the screen, you can say, it's not there anymore, sorry. And you'll have alternatives in your life, don't worry. Okay, so simplification is something that's very exciting. It releases a lot of energy back into your spiritual practice if you simplify your life. And if you can get down to the point of simplification where you feel that you're happy with a little place to take rest, a little prasadam, some service, and a set of Bhagavatams and japa beads, you're impervious to the changes of the world because you have what you need right where it is, and all the different offers that are coming out from the material world will not affect you because you're satisfied. So if you simplify your life down to the point, just say, set of Bhagavatams, my bead bag, place to lie down, some service, and a little prasad is all I ask out of life. Then you'll be a happy human being. A sukhinara, happy human. So Stephen Covey says, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. Decide what's the main thing. This is good when you're setting your goals. Prioritize and decide what is the main thing in your life. Why are you doing what you're doing? And what is the main thing? And don't major in minor things. If there's all kinds of minor things that you're getting absorbed in and taking time with, reassess and say, what is the main thing in my life? And here's a chart that will help you. You can make this little chart. You've seen this, eh? It's very important, and you may not refer to it every time you make a decision, but once you get used to using this, you can sort out things. So some things are urgent and important. Some things are not urgent, but important. So things that are urgent and important, you should do them now. Things that are not urgent but important, you could do them later. Things that are urgent but not important, you can drop it. And things that are not urgent and not important, like Facebook, you can get rid of it. So look at this chart. It's very helpful. It tells you what category something goes in, and you can look at it and say, that's not important, and it's also not urgent, and it's chewing up a lot of my important time that I need for important things in my life. Now here's another little diagram that will take away all your anxiety in life. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody here have any anxiety in their life? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a certain area of our life that we have influence over. Like what? Like what? Technology? I haven't realized that yet. Somehow I have some stars that whatever I hook up, it always goes wrong. I have gone through 3 external hard drives that just don't show up for some reason. And when you go on a hold to try to figure out what it is, anyway, their phone also doesn't work for some reason. Okay, so circle of influence may be what? Daily duties? daily routine. Some of the things that you do in your daily routine, you can decide, for instance, what time you want to wake up in the morning. That's within your circle of influence. Some of the goals that you set. Now, are there things outside your circle of influence? Like? When you get where'd the plane go? You mean the one that was lost? Yeah, so the plane was lost, and then it goes on the social media, and then everyone says, where's the plane, where's the plane? And everyone says, where's the plane? It's like you have no control over that, right? So that goes outside of your circle of influence into what's called your circle of concern. There's so many concerns, the things we can't do anything about. So now you get out like a tennis racket, and every time one of those little things goes out into the circle of concern, you just, knock it back. Because if it's outside your circle of influence, there's nothing you can do about it. Let it go. Don't have to worry about it. And that's where all the worry takes place. I have some concern about my body. What's going to happen to my body? Do the best you can, but don't worry about it. It's not something that you can control. If it's beyond your control, just take it as Krishna's mercy and move on. So another thing that relates to setting goals, finding out what is your main thing, is to develop good habits. And this is one of the most important and exciting aspects of being a human being, is that you can decide at any time to develop a new habit, a new good habit. And yes?
Prabhuji, Dilip Prabhu actually texted and he says, Hare Krishna, I have do not disturb signs. I will bring them on Sunday. Nice class.
What a nice gift. That's beautiful. Dilip Bhai? Yes. Thank you, Dilip. Hare Krishna. Anybody else who's online and you'd like to check in, the number is on the screen. And we have somebody else just texted in. Okay.
That's Sundaranand Prabhu.
Sundar.
And he says, thanks for the class, Prabhu. I like the statement, never meet the dawn without a map.
Never meet the dawn without a map. Augmandino. Never greet the dawn without a map. That is the hallmark of a successful person, successful life. Don't greet the dawn without a map. Okay, so good habits you can develop. You have to decide what you want to do, what new habit you want to develop, and then work on it in a gradual way, little step at a time. For instance, Shraddha, you mentioned exercise. So what do? Start by walking around the block. Do something that you can do now, and then repeat it every day, and gradually, it'll turn into a habit. Also associate people who have the same kind of good habits that you want to develop, because you'll get inspired by them. You'll see, they're doing it, and they're doing it better than me, and they're using this tool and that tool, and you'll get inspired to develop good habits. If you develop good habits over time, your life will become naturally balanced if you concentrate on developing the kind of good habits that you can now. And if you let yourself slide into bad habits, if you neglect, a little error and judgment repeated every day over time, you'll have a very unbalanced life. It leads to disaster. People think, how did you become such a loser? I said, I just repeated the same bad habits every day, and now I'm a complete loser. So, don't be a loser. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all pains, material pains, by practicing the yoga system. So there's a way of eating. You don't eat too much and you don't eat too little. Don't, have a balanced way of eating. Make sure that you're eating what you need to keep the body going as a biological machine. It's fuel. It's not a source of solace for all your problems. Don't eat like that. Eat in a regulated way and sleep in a regulated way. And if you do that, and you also recreate yourself on a regular basis. Take time to sharpen the saw. This is what recreation means, recreation. Recreate yourself. Take time to sharpen up your skills and know where you're going. And then you will mitigate all material pains. This is the yoga system. You are what you eat. Be careful. You should eat a rainbow diet. And if you're going somewhere and says, what do you eat? You should tell people, I eat a rainbow diet. Should have all kinds of colors. When I go to Toronto, they say, we made you a rainbow diet, and they have all these different colors. And it's a wonderful, wonderful cuisine that they make. And this is a healthy way to eat, all different colors of fruits and vegetables. People don't eat enough fruits and vegetables. And eat fresh. Eat good things offered to Krishna, and offer the best things that you can get for Krishna, because your body is highly affected by what you eat. Don't eat junk. No, I won't even mention. Now, speech. This is another area where great balance comes in your life, and this is within your area of influence, and this will make a huge difference in your life. Control your speech. So your tongue is your rudder. It directs which way you go. In fact, the tongue actually looks like a rudder. And Krishna recommends that your speech should be truthful, pleasing, beneficial, non-agitating, and you should regularly recite the Vedas. Yes, non-agitating speech. I was thinking recently about non-manipulative communication. Non-manipulative communication. Be straightforward with people and depend on Krishna and the person's free will for the outcome. Don't try to manipulate people And remember that everyone is sensitive. Sentient beings. Sentient beings are sensitive. Sensitivity means having or displaying a quick and delicate appreciation of other people's feelings. That's what sensitivity means. Having or displaying a quick and delicate appreciation of other people's feelings. So you need to tune your sensitivity. There's a sensitivity frequency that you have to have with your family, with your spouse, with people that you're working with. Understand that they're very sensitive, and what you say and how you say it is very important. Yes? Go ahead and use the mic.
Guru Maharaj, the truth is sometimes harsh, so how it could be pleasing? It's sometimes very painful if you have to...
You have to have sensitivity frequency in tune. And when for instance, when you give feedback to people, that sometimes you have to be straightforward, right? So when you give feedback, remember that everyone is sensitive. Remember that people are sensitive. In fact, I was reading the book of one Christian preacher, and he was saying when he gives a sermon on Sunday, he tells everyone, don't give me feedback till Wednesday. I'm too sensitive until when and how you give feedback is very key. Timing, sincerity, and the sequence in which you give the feedback is important. Now, there's this thing about when you give feedback to people, there's this sandwich, where you give some appreciation, and then you tell what the criticism is, the room for improvement, that is, and then you give the positive again. And somebody I was talking to yesterday, Rasanath Prabhu and Vrindavan Vinodini, they were saying, well, still, people go right to the center part where you gave them the feedback, room for improvement. And then the other part just seems manipulative, that you threw in those other things just to make me feel better, and it's almost worse. So yes, people are very sensitive, right? So one thing is timing. You have to wait for the right time to give people feedback. If you give it in the heat of the moment, when there's some anger involved or some angst or something like that, and you say it at the wrong time, it might not be well taken. So if you're looking to give somebody feedback, look for a time when they're very open, or they even ask you about it and say, what do you think about the way I talk? It's like, well, even then be careful. And also be very sincere when you present. Don't give undue praise for things that aren't really there, because it'll be taken as insincere. Be sincere about it. And the sequence is important that you presented it also. For instance, when writing a letter, if you want to ask somebody for somebody or give them some feedback, some room for improvement, don't stack the first part of the letter with accolades and say, you're such a nice person, I really love you. But, because it just erases everything else. If you want to say it at the top, and then tell everything else afterwards. And so that's something to think about. The sequence in which you give feedback to people is very important. And the other point is, if the people you're around that you have to give feedback to, if you live in gratitude, what does that mean? It means to appreciate everything Krishna is giving you all the time. If you really, you can cultivate gratitude. Just start by watching the sun and think, Krishna's maintaining me. And you can think about your heart's beating. I'm lucky to have a body and have a heart. You have to start with the basic gratitude. And also express gratitude, appreciate what other people are doing for you. There's a verse in the Bhagavatam that says we're debtors to all kinds of people when we come into the world. Don't think that you're independent and you're not getting something from everybody. Devarshi bhutatna nrinam pitranam, etc. This verse says you owe the devas, the rishis, the animals, everyone you owe. You should be grateful to them. People take from the cow all over society and they never say thanks at all. They even don't know what a cow is. They never go, and appreciate that. And it goes on and on, the list goes on. But if you reverse that and you start appreciating and you have gratitude for people, and if you express that gratitude to the people you work with, the people you live to on a regular basis, when you come out with some kind of a feedback for them, room for improvement, they'll appreciate it. Because it's not just in the moment that you said, well, here's a couple good things and here's the room for improvement, but it's all the time you're always appreciating. So live in gratitude and sincerely appreciate what you already have and what your spouse, parents, friends, etc. have done for you before giving them room for improvement. Also, from the receiving end, it's important to, actually I think I'll get to this, but it's important on the receiving end. Here's a mantra I learned recently, which I'll pass on to you. One of the most powerful mantras I've ever learned. I'm sitting up to impart it to you. I live to be corrected. Please repeat.
I live to be corrected.
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 Homework, use that today when someone gives you some advice or corrects you. And you're about to say, well, what are you telling me that for? I already know everything. Say, I live to be corrected.
I live to be corrected.
If you develop that mantra, use that mantra in your life. This goes along with the verse, Tate anukampam susamikshamano bunjana eva makritam vipakam. This verse, which is saying, I live to be corrected. I've created a situation, a reality that's around me, and a momentum. And whatever's coming at me, I live to be corrected by that. That's for my correction, for my improvement. And whatever harsh thing, whatever even mild thing, but room for improvement someone gives me, just override your ego that says, I can't be corrected, I'm perfect, the ego says. But you have this mantra to override the ego, say, I live to be corrected. Okay, so one sentence of pure encouragement can have a profound effect for a lifetime. If you become a person who fans the spark, encourages other people, you'll notice what an effect it has, because the world is such a discouraging place. Discouraging place. At every moment, from outside and from within, there are discouraging messages coming from the mind. Some people have depression. Constantly the mind's saying, you're no good, you can't do it. Be an agent for encouragement in people's lives. Encourage them. Sometimes all people need is a little bit of encouragement. And one sentence of pure encouragement can have a profound effect for a lifetime on somebody's life. What to speak of on your own life. So what are you listening to? This will make a big effect on your life. Anyadevahur sambhavad, anyadahura sambhavat. It's mentioned in the Shastra, Upanishad, that what you give your attention to, what you're worshiping by your hearing process, that will affect you in various ways. We welcome everyone who's joined us online today. Thank you for joining the broadcast for this universal community of hearing Krishna Katha. Hare Krishna. So what are you listening to? Be very careful. No dumping drains to bay. These little insignias with the fish on them to remind us all over the Bay Area, they're all by these drains. And because if you pour something toxic in there, it's going to go into the San Francisco Bay. And similarly, if you pour anything toxic in here, it's going to end up in the bay of your heart. And whatever's in your heart is going to come out in your actions in your life. And your words and your speech. So be very careful about not dumping anything toxic into your ears. Social media exposure. There's a lot of it out there, and it's designed to agitate your mind. Just keep that in mind. It's designed to agitate you. So be careful about consuming it. Relationships. You have to have balance in your relationships. So here's one thing to remember, that everyone is sensitive and everyone has an emotional bank account. They keep track of what happens. And if you make regular deposits by being thoughtful with the people you're around, the people you work with, the people that you live with and so forth, then whenever you have to make a withdrawal, you won't notice it. They won't notice it. So what are ways that you can put something in somebody's emotional bank account? Name 3.
Compliment somebody.
If you compliment somebody, take some time to point out how somebody's doing something nicely or how they look. Yes? Thank them. Okay. Thank people sincerely. Yes? Serve them. Serve. Just do some service for somebody. That goes such a long way if you go out of your way. Anything specific anybody can think of at home or at work or with the devotees? Yes?
Especially with our spouses, Maharaj. I realize that most of the time we think, oh, they will understand that I really care, but actually sometimes really telling that, yeah, thank you, or taking the trash out, as you said.
Taking the trash out, that's a big one, right? Leaving a note. I'm going to be home late. Taking the time to do something like that. Or, one of the part of the Vaishnava culture is giving gifts. What if you give gifts to people? How does that make an effect on them? Yes?
Oh, you could just greet them genuinely, ask them how they're doing. That'll make a difference.
Yeah, take some time, give them attention, ask them how they're doing and so forth. These may go a long way.
You can give them time.
Give them time. So you sit at the breakfast table and you look at your iPhone and you don't make eye contact and things like that. And this is very important in relationships, to give some dedicated time for the relationship. Find this with spouses. If you designate time, not just incidental time, but you say, we're going to take an hour here or take a weekend here. If you plan that ahead of time, it'll make a big difference. Yes?
Reveal what is in the heart honestly.
Reveal what's in your heart honestly. No? Yeah. No, if you do it in the right context, it's very, very important, because this deeper communication adds a lot to the emotional bank account. But just keep in mind that people are sensitive. Everyone's sensitive. Sentient beings, that's why we call them sentient beings, because they're sensitive. Everyone's sensitive. And even if you think, oh, they didn't mind that, they didn't notice that, they did. They notice. Everything gets noted by people because they pick up everything, just like kids. He's like, how did he know I did that? They're just watching from across the room, and they start doing what you're doing, playing on the phone or whatever. They pick up everything. Everybody, living entities are mystical. They pick up all these things. So live in the world in a way that you're actually adding to people's lives and being in a service mood and adding to this emotional bank account. Beware of grabbers. There are a lot of grabbers out there in the world that will want to sweep you away to another place and devour you. So you have to have balance enough in your life to know when somebody's grabbing you and pulling you in a different direction. One of the ways, I've mentioned in another class, the mantra effect. Mantra was a very envious woman who worked for Kaikeyi in the palace. And she was the only one envious. of Ram being coronated as king, the only one in the whole kingdom. And she ruined it for everybody. Just think how much havoc she created from one envious person speaking to another. So if you hear envious talk, if you hear criticism and destructively, there's ways that that will destroy your ability to actually appreciate and to go on worshiping devotees and the process of devotional service. Be very careful if people grab your time also unnecessarily. Make limitations for people who are grabbers. Make sure you have boundaries so they don't take away your life. You have to increase your appreciating capacity. Everyone has a capacity to appreciate Krishna and his devotees and the process of devotional service. Our job is to increase that capacity. And the more you appreciate, it's not time, it's appreciation. It's not time, it's taste. Everyone has the same amount of time. But what you do with that time is based on your appreciating capacity. Another mantra, encourage the heck out of everybody. Wherever you go, encourage people because they really need it. Fan the spark. When you see a spark of spiritual inclination, fan it. Take time to fan it. That was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's edict to everyone. That wherever you go, everyone that you meet, give them an opportunity to take to Krishna consciousness. Fan that spark. That's Sankirtan. We're going out door to door to meet people just to fan the spark. And we're just looking for the spark. And we know it's in there, so we keep fanning. You know, people go, no, I'm not interested. And it's like, keep coming, keep coming. All of a sudden, poof, you know, a little flame like saying, I told you it was in there. So many times people say, I'm not interested, I'm not interested, I don't want this, I don't believe in anything. And suddenly they change. And sometimes it's by using these other ways of just being open and encouraging to people. It's not necessarily philosophy that changes their mind and heart, but if you're living in gratitude and you're appreciating people wherever you go, when you go out, if you're doing that within your own family, when you go outside, it's just natural. Everyone you meet, you have something nice for them that will fan the spark in their heart and they'll be open to what you have. Practice meditation. Meditation is very popular these days. We have the highest kind of meditation. Take time for yourself to introspect. It has so many values. Chant good japa. This is the answer to all problems, is to chant good japa. And when you do, practice your japa in the morning or whenever you have time to do it with great concentration and with devotion. As much as possible, stay in contact with the holy name and don't divert your attention. Give your time for that. You will achieve higher levels of perception, discipline, and contentment. Perception, discipline, and contentment. So what does that mean? Perception is an interesting word. Per means entirely. Capere means to take. It means what you're taking from your environment. That's your perception. You don't see the world the way it is, you see the world the way you are. And when you meditate on Krishna's names every day, you get knowledge and detachment, which gives you an objective way of looking at the world. And you're able to take away those things that are ultimately beneficial for you. Otherwise, you take away all kinds of things from the environment that are harmful. To perceive means to become aware or conscious of something. What are we aware of in this world? I am my body, I am my car, versus I drive a body, or I drive a car. This kind of perception can only be achieved through the highest kind of meditation, which is chanting Hare Krishna. Now, another very powerful technique in staying balanced in life is to learn the art of neglect. That may sound funny, but neg means not, and lagari means to choose to pick up. If you know what to pick up and what to leave behind, you'll be benefited in great ways, because there's lots of things that will present themselves to you and you don't have to pick them up. Just neglect them. One of the best things to neglect are thoughts that come into your mind for all kinds of ideas the mind concocts and says, what about this? What about that? What about that? It's like, just to neglect you. Just complete neglect. Learn the power of neglect. And Prabhupada mentions this in one of his purports, that in the process of Krishna consciousness, you have to learn to neglect the mind. It's not that hard to neglect things, right? I do it all the time. Okay, so find out what's valuable to you in your life. What are the most valuable things? Make the major things major. Is a car, money, furniture. Out of these things, pet. There's a story about the man who's offered a palace. He can have whatever he wants. And you give him the palace, just one restriction, no other living entities. In fact, I saw an advertisement for a mansion, and it was a $68 million mansion. And it had all these rooms and swimming pools and all these kinds of things. And you can just imagine someone living in that, and then the only restriction is there's no other living entities there. How long will you enjoy it? In fact, when people get these kind of mansions, they're thinking, I'll be like the Great Gatsby. I'll have all these big parties here, and I'll be the Synosia. I'll have all kinds of relationships. That's what everyone's looking for. So the man lives in this palace that he's given with no other living entities. It becomes completely morose until one day a green parrot flies into his house, and then the parrot becomes his best friend because it's a living entity. So what's important? Our relationships with living entities. That's what's important. Through perception, learn to understand what is the most important thing, what is the priority in my life. Also, take up discipline. This one word, discipline, actually comes from a root word which means learner. If you learn to discipline yourself, you'll learn more about yourself, about the world, and you'll become happy. The unbridled mind can be the worst friend. But you have to practice, Krishna says. Practice, and you can control the unbridled mind. And in the process of practicing, mentions in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, does Krishna to Uddhava, that just like a horseman, expert horseman, sometimes you pull the reins in, sometimes you have to let the reins out a little bit. You can't always be pulling in. You have to learn how to balance in your practice. And contentment, the word contentment comes from container. Con altogether, and tenere, what we hold. So what we hold inside ourselves, that's our contentment. And that is a product of our perception, what we're grabbing from the environment and taking in, that is what we hold inside ourselves. So make sure you're filling yourself up with that which will actually make you happy. Like Coca-Cola. Because Coca-Cola makes you happy. In case you didn't know. Not. Coca-Cola gives you rotten teeth. And it's also, anyway, I better not say anymore, I might be sued. Open happiness. Oh, there's a bottle of happiness. That's their trademark, open happiness. That's our trademark too, but we don't say it's from Coca-Cola. We say open the Bhagavad Gita and you'll get happiness. Mantra, control the mind through mantra. The world moves by mantra. Our lives move by mantra. What mantras did we learn today? I live to be corrected. Anything else? Fan the spark. Encourage the heck out of everybody. Neglect. Learn to neglect. Huh? Never greet the dawn without a map. Yeah, these are mantras, and you collect these mantras and you can use them. Your life moves by mantras. Everything moves by mantra. You walk up to the desk at the hotel and you say, give me a room. And they go, okay, I'll give you a room. Then you give them a mantra. Everywhere you go, you have to give a mantra and make it work. So learn the right mantras and employ them in your life, and your mind will go the right way, your life will go in the right way. Live by mantra. Here's the only mantra you need. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now we'll take a couple of reflections. Just one thing that you heard that stuck in your mind. No questions, just reflections. Yes. Questions are hooks, reflections are just sweet and nice. Okay. Go ahead. One thing that you heard that stuck.
May I please say a quote that I like, a mantra that I like?
Yes.
Never let failure get to your heart. Never let success get to your head.
Never let failure go to your heart? Yeah. Never let success go to your head. I like that. That's a good one. Thank you very much. Good one. Okay, we have a text.
So this is Asit Prabhu from Folsom. He says, very encouraging lecture, Prabhu. I liked the goal of simplifying the life and the mantra, I live to be corrected. Thank you for the class.
Thank you, Asit. That was beautiful.
There's Bhakt Manish from Toronto. I'm in the process of writing my goals for the year. So this class has come at the perfect time. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
That was from Manish?
Manish from Puri.
Tell him to text in his website.
Okay.
You all have to see this. He does beautiful artwork that's available.
I'll do that. And then Linda Graham.
Jagannath. And Manish, text Shraddha your website. We'll put it up on the screen. And what else?
Linda Mataji says that this class is exactly what I need to hear. Thank you so much for such wonderful Krishna Katha.
Bhakti and Linda, right?
Bhakti and Linda.
Jai.
I'm very grateful and I'm counting my days to the initiation.
Hare Krishna.
And Sundaranand Prabhu, I think he was sharing the reflection. He says, I live to be corrected. That's the nice one.
Everyone will be saying that today, right? I live to be corrected. Yes.
Maharaj, I like the exercise what we did that shows like if we know, like when we close our eyes, then it's little difficult to. Similarly, if we know that where we are going is more easy
Get
to
vision.
balance.
Get vision in your life. Never greet the dawn without a map. A few more? Reflection? Anything you heard stuck in your mind? Gandharvika.
The point of I live to be corrected solves many anxieties and frustrations because the moment you make up your mind to get constructive criticisms, half of the problem is solved because you confront because you don't have that idea. So both spiritually and materially, that solves a lot of problem. So thank you, Prabhu.
Yes. Don't live a life of comfort. Live a life of preparation. Always be in the preparing mode. Prepare yourself, prepare yourself. And if you're in that preparatory mode, when something comes along to you that's corrective, you'll say, I live to be corrected. I want that. I'm in preparation mode right now. Yes.
Maharaj, I know you don't want question, but what about my goals from last year? Because there's some I didn't finish, I didn't get. How do I work with that, the previous years?
Well, I always go through what I did last year, and I look at them very carefully, and I revive some of them. Sometimes you have to breathe life into some of them, and you go, oh, I forgot about you. Yeah. What a wonderful goal. And Victor Hugo said, nothing is as powerful as an idea whose time has come. And sometimes we notice in our brainstorming processes here at ISV over the years, we've had so many ideas that say, this is a complete winner. And it just doesn't happen for 3 years. And all of a sudden, everything comes together, the right people, the right time, and it just blooms. So if they're good, keep them on the list, keep putting them in front of you. When the time comes, everything will happen of its own accord. You have to keep it in front of your face.
There's a quote, simple living, high thinking. So
Yes.
I liked how you connected that with like simple life.
Simplify, yes. Simple living and high thinking. Thank you. Very good contribution. Yes.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. A very good realization was do not worry about things outside your circle of influence.
Yes. Doesn't that help? Because what comes into the mind will inevitably cause you anxiety because it's beyond your reach. And if it's beyond your reach, learn to let it go. Don't chase after it. Live in a compact situation. Compact means don't worry so much about the future because you can't control that. What you can work with is right now what you have in front of you in your preparation for whatever you're going to do next. And if you do that, you'll make great progress. You spend a lot of time worrying and getting an anxiety about things that you can't touch anyway. Thank you. Yes. Get a new Do Not Disturb sign and just see how things manifest. We just talked about it, and the Dilip Bhai called in and said he'll bring them. Yes.
I liked your comment about that worry exists in the what is outside the circle of influence. It's in the circle of concern.
Yes, worry
It's
means
very
what's
true.
outside our circle of influence. Otherwise, you just do something about it, and then you don't worry about it. Yeah.
I like the idea of setting the goals which are measurable, like not saying just that I'm going to make some more progress in my spiritual life, instead say like chant one extra round, which I can measure and then see whether I meet my goal or not.
Yes. That is a really empowering thing to do, is to find out what you can do. Don't neglect to do what you can do just because it looks like an overwhelming project. Do what you can do now. And then it always leads to more. And anyone who's reached high levels of achievement has started with what they can do right now. And even you say, well, that person was playing piano at 3 years old. They did it last life. They started somewhere. So wherever you want to start, start. And don't worry. You know, this is one of the reasons that people don't do things, is they look at it and they say, oh, it's too big, I can't do it. So do what you can do. Do what you can do and measure it. I've seen all across the country when we pass out these BSH page by page, people look at it and go, oh, I didn't know I could read the Bhagavatam. I always just assumed it was too high of a mountain to climb to read the Bhagavatam because it looks overwhelming. Another from the internet.
So I just wanted to mention that it's 11:30 in the night in India, and we have got a text from there. Aditi Mataji from Chandigarh in India, she says, amazing lecture, Prabhuji. Inculcates so much positivity and happiness. Best mantra, I live to be corrected. Thank you so much for such guidance, Prabhu.
May it reverberate all over the world. May I live to be corrected. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Aditi Mataji. Now, can we put up the website for Manish on the... Do you have that? Okay, I need to unhook this, or he can do that. Override. There it is. Look at, he does this beautiful artwork with paper. Is that his website? Maybe you can click on something specific. Hey, try playing that. Can you amplify it? Nice. Radha Krishna Designs. He's got a place on Facebook and obviously a website and so forth. He has all kinds of beautiful creations that he makes by hand, by paper, as you can see there. They're just actually stunning, each one of them, and a labor of love. So if you want some beautiful image of the Lord for your home, he has the graffiti from Vrindavan, say Radhe, on the trees and things like that. He makes those also, many different colors and designs. This is a commercial break.
This is Sri Krishna Purushottam Prabhu.
Yes.
And he says he liked the fan the spark.
Fan the spark.
Which he uses when we go out on Sankirtan. And he says 98% of the time it works.
Nice. So, yes.
Sorry. And Vishaka Leela Mataji says, what a wonderful start to the year. Hearing from you is always an inspiration. I like the phrase, start simple and sustain.
Start simple and sustain. That's great. I didn't even know I said that, but it sounds great. Okay, well, thank everyone for coming together this morning. It's never long enough, but we have another year ahead of us, and I really liked ending with watching that creative process, painstakingly, meticulously, and we should carve our lives out like that. Have some frame of reference like he does for his board, that he's cutting on, to make sure you're measuring right, and develop your talents, and the end result really is just to glorify Krishna. Have a service attitude. These 3 things to take away. Service. Think, how can I serve more? And the moment you start thinking, how can I be a better servant, the more your anxiety will go away. Live in gratitude. Start with appreciating the sunrise every day. Be there for it. And do your mantras when the sun comes up. There are many mantras to say to the sun god, like the Gayatri mantra, Yaschaksharesha Savita Sakalagrahanam, and many, many more. Appreciate that the sun is in your life and everything else that goes with it. Every cell in your body is being sustained by that. And be in preparation mode. Always prepare, because great discoveries come only under the prepared mind. And you have to always be preparing yourself. And if you're in prepared mind, then things will call to you naturally. You don't have to chase anything. Just make yourself a better person. Increase the value of your life. And then finally the mantra, which is, I live to be corrected. Vanchakalpatarubhascha kripasannabheva cha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.